Welcome to the Chillness Room, episode 10. Can you believe it? We've done 10 episodes so far. How cool is that? So, I'm Kira. I'm your hostess with the mostess today. I want to talk about intensity. So, as we all know, that in the Chillness Room, we try to be chill. But we also know that sometimes there's just too much intensity going on around us that makes it almost impossible to find our chillness, right? So, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 ways to help reduce the intensity so that you can start from a more peaceful place. Before I get to the last one, just know that every single step we take, if it's in the general direction of feeling more peaceful, it's the right move. Even if at first it feels a little bit worse in some ways. What I mean by that is that if I feel powerless, but then I suddenly feel a little bit angry about the powerlessness that I feel, then I'm actually shifting just a bit out of that old feeling. And that can be enough. And then we feel a little bit angry, and then we feel a little bit concerned, and then we feel a little bit curious, and then we feel a little bit like a possibility feeling, and then we feel a little bit, maybe even just a touch hopeful. Maybe eventually we get all the way to feeling joy and ease and effortlessness with the experience that we're having, but I'm not too concerned about that right now. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just get to anger and frustration, and that's okay. All feelings are valid. All feelings deserve to be heard and seen and recognized. So here's the first thing: create an opening, create an opportunity to take a step back. Create an opening. So it might be, can I get back to you on that? That's a really interesting idea. Can I think about that for a few minutes? Hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take a step back here just so I can regroup. You know, I guess football season has been up and, people take a timeout. That happens in all sports, especially when the intensity gets to be too much. They take a timeout and then they refocus. You're allowed to call time. You're allowed to call time out when you have big choices to make. It's okay to do that. Don't let anybody dictate your intensity for you. If you're feeling it, that's enough. The next one is do anything that feels a little bit better. It might be going for a walk outside, and I don't mean like hiking a mountain. I don't mean going for a run. I mean literally walking around your yard for 3.5 minutes and just getting a different perspective. Maybe it's painting a picture or drawing something, or maybe it's singing a song for a minute, or maybe it's getting up and dancing to one song, and that helps you to kind of get out of your head so that you can change some of your patterns. So now you've taken your time out. You have changed your kind of pattern so that you can go and do something to kind of step away from all of the noise and the intensity. So finally, make a new choice if it feels in alignment with what you're wanting. If it's what you're wanting, it's going to feel easier. Whatever that choice is, it can not feel as good to other people, but that's their journey. And I want to honor myself. And by honoring myself, I honor them. Because if it's not right, or if something feels too overwhelming, or something isn't in alignment with my highest and best good, the most loving thing I can do in that moment is choose myself and then let the chips fall where they may. Because I don't know the whole plan. I can't step out of it enough. All I can know is by how I feel right now. And I might change my mind later, but and if things change later and whatever the intensity of that thing is different, maybe I make a new choice in that direction. But the main thing is that we must listen to ourselves first, and then everything else will fall into place. I promise you, it has worked for me a million times over. And when I've noticed this, the most interestingly is when I don't choose the direction of my feelings. When I don't choose the direction of my feelings, what happens is that I suffer. And then I add that suffering to the world. By us suffering individually, we add suffering to the world. And in the Buddhist philosophy, whether you're Buddhist or not, adding to the suffering of the world is no bueno. We don't want that. We don't want to add our suffering to the world or sacrifice to the world. That's not a loving act for ourselves or for others. And we don't know what's supposed to happen. So I love this understanding that since I don't know and I can only know based on my feelings, everything is going to work out exactly the way that it's supposed to. If it's happening, it's supposed to happen. If it happened, it was supposed to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean it feels good every time, but it was supposed to happen. So we allow that thing that has already happened to pass, to move through, so that we can essentially say, wow, okay, that thing happened. Now, how do I process that? Or how do I heal that? Or what can I see in that? And then how can I make new choices in the future that will help me feel even better or more aligned? So there you go. They're your three things that when things just feel way overwhelming or too intense, you first make an opening. Call a timeout. Call a timeout on yourself. I'm not saying you're calling a timeout on someone else per se, but more just saying, hey, I need to step back for a moment. I need to call a timeout on the intensity of this moment. I need to step back. And when you do, oh my goodness, it is really, really, really helpful. If during that timeout you also feel like you need to shift a perspective or take a moment and do something that just feels a little bit better, that's a great opportunity to do that. It can be singing, dancing, painting, playing, walking, or doing whatever feels fun in that moment. And then you get to make a new choice. And I know some of you haven't ever heard that before because you were raised in a way that said, I make your choices for you. Some of you, not all of you. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm allowed to change my mind? Wait, hold on. I've never been taught that before. I'm allowed to change my mind on anything, anything, anything. It can be a friendship, a relationship, a prospect, a possibility. It could be a job. It could be anything. It could be a trip. It could be, you get to change your mind. And that is something that it's taken me 40 years to learn because I never believed that I had that choice. I'm older than 40, but but, but once I realized that I get to make that choice, it's still taken me a long time to get there. So as you are discovering this for yourself in this beautiful episode 10 of the Chillness Room, I am encourage you to look at all of the choices that you've made and then all the choices that you're getting to make in the future. Maybe you don't know them all yet, but maybe you know a few. And do this process, make it easy on yourself, choose again, and you might find that there's some really cool things that happen as a result. I hope you have a beautiful day, and thank you so much for joining me for this 10th episode of the Chillness Room. Take care.